Iterate, this map is very attack sided, guys. There has to be a lot of rounds coming out here for TSM if they want a shot. And of course, if you're Stella Gaming, you want to get as many rounds as possible. You want to be ahead in this first half so you could be the one setting the tone and hopefully come out on top by the end of this.
I still have memories of last time that Seven played this map on the stage, just walling the choke on A on the defense and not letting that attacking side do anything. And on top of that, a lot of crazy walls that we got to see from him. Let's find out if he's going to do it again and that way allow TSM to secure the win, or if it's going to be Stella, that Brazilian team, making it happen. And let's send it to your casters is Vance and Lemon.
Thank you, Dryad. Map 3, who would have thought? Well, fans may be in Stella's direction, but they're trying to get to that finish line at the end of Lotus, which is a map they're pretty familiar with, and TSM as well.
And it seems like Stella's familiar with TSM's game too, just when Danjai was mentioning the ways that TSM are playing towards the A side with 7 with the wall. All of them are leaning towards C so far. And with the lurk, I mean, the lurk is gone. Let's go towards C side, Stella.
It's really just a clash of two incredible duelists. Like, Timotino started off hot, and Zanatsu's been able to match that, and now he's got speed on his side. A much different approach than how the Yoru was in the past. And look how much quicker Stella are to just conquer into C, and even set Zanatsu forward because of that deep smoke to try and catch TSM off guard, or at the very least force more util to respect these corners. Beautiful. Speaking of that, Timotino forces out that engagement, gets the advantage, and OSW trying to hope to throw out some util, and TSM were closer than they expected. Now Zanatsu and Zoid have to reclaim through their own sight, and Timotino's looking for an ace on the pistol. Hello.
And the first real ace of the series comes out once again, or at least, actually, no, there's a second ace of the series, because the first one did come from Cinesorge on Haven, but Timotino comes back with an answer on Lotus with how crispy it was with the shares. I mean, look at that long range 145 through the wall. On top of that, the util was perfect to flush out the breach from that corner, but I felt like they were missing a little bit to try to clear out towards the back of the site. But it wasn't even needed when Timotino moves in like that with these type of share shots.
5-0 for Timotino, buys himself an outlaw. This has been a reoccurring appearance, but doesn't get the 1-2 shot he was hoping for. Now slipping past those defendants, he's on the chase. Who is Hunter and who is Bernie? Timotino just getting away with way too much, and Bora, great support, will now shut down this push from Stella.
Timotino's breaking ankles as if he's playing Neon himself. Those satchels are amazing, and even gets the range out of the bucket to get 0 value from Zanatsu's buy, and even kills him with the ghost. And look at that, in 2 rounds he's built the showstopper for their bonus.
Oh. Bora does not go down. He'll be able to bring this weapon into the next. And now that both teams are comfortable, these rounds are going to be so fast and deadly. This is no longer these TSM flawless thrifties, whatever that we saw from map 1. Honestly, forget everything you saw from Haven. This is a whole new ball game.
Oh my god, that was just insane. And you're gonna have to think about now the compositional build here from both of these teams. The Sage being picked by 7 is almost a full counter to getting like this stop onto the Neon's fast high gear and the speed that she brings into the round. So the aggressive walls, the slow orbs, you won't be able to get some good quick map control if you're heading towards the way of 7. So that's why they're leveraging him into these 3-site holds with rifles instead of trap plays with util. And once you slow things down, you wall off that choke. Look at how you pivot back into the B side. By the way, also playing a Sova instead of the Fade, which is still very good. The drone gets Timotino into a good angle. You have a Hunter's Fury to play into the long range, into these close corridors that can do a lot of damage that we've seen Vora do before. And Stella has to be ready for all of these elements of surprise that TSM could bring out.
TSM are not just going to let these walls be unwatched. I like that 7's going to be near it, because Stella are starting to disrespect those walls. You already saw it start happen on Ascent, and it gave like a sense of security at TSM where thought they could depend on. Now the judge, even while CC'd, 7 at least gets a crucial kill, and Stella will be on their way, and TSM this time will have a heads up.
They lost the speed though. They lost the entry and the space that they could grab, so you can't move as quickly into the A site. A triple swing into the breakable door. The ult out from Timotino pushes him back.
Already on the third round, he has that from the ace and the pistol. He's done playing around. And good night to the fade. Chisora and Guy at least united together, but we'll get the punish on Timotino. 10 seconds left. GMD on prevention duty. Paranoia will have Chisora back to safety. Guy, a body block. And it's just, well, I don't want to say what I was thinking. GMD, oh my God.
Okay, GMD still rolling back the years. By the way, GMD has been around the scene for such a long time. I saw in the chat here earlier on in this series saying that VALORANT North America is going to have French Canadians on the top. They were one of the first assigned players and teams to start off and kick off VALORANT in 2020 when the French Connection or the French Canadians was signed by Gen G. Because of players like GMD, IGLing for that team, then giving that role to player one, now doing similar things for TSM, passing that mantle onto Vora so he could just focus on fragging out as a controller, just like he did with those 2 shots.
Wow, TSM, you poke the bear, they got angry. They're out of hibernation. The claws are out, bro. Timotino, 8-2. He's scary, and he's over at C this time to get some lucky kills off the outlaw, but Stella are aware of this now. Have to re-clear a lot slower and maybe at a different angle this time with the bait. We open the door. TSM nowhere to be found.
Well, they'll have to stall and have the perfect util for that because you have Alvin Board playing that spot. So the first Razor Vines are coming out. He has support as well from the crossfire from Vora. Flash does get connection, so here's the hit.
Oh, right into the thorns. Oh,
it's
toss the spike. Wait, that's going to be tough to recover. Will cost Stella a lot. And it has to be Zanatsu. That's the tip of the spear. And he just stops and everyone in this path. TSM hesitated after those upgrades. Now TSM, they've regained control of the situation. They salvage this all thanks to the duelists that have really had to pull through when it matters the most. Make it a 3K for the Neon. And 7 with the Odin. None other than that gun again. Hoping to bring it to another round.
And Zanatsu is very much activating. So you had a slow start from the duelist on the side of Stella. Wakes up on the second map. And then they were kind of slowed down for Timotino. But this time, we've mentioned the third map is going to be an important one for both of these teams. And it's going to get even more chaotic than it did in the first 2 maps. And you're definitely seeing both duelists on both defense and attack or doing their job. Even though the Razor Vine slowed Zanatsu in the first place, and that's the other reason why you're pulling up this Vice here for the comp for TSM. They have such good stalls against this composition for Stella, so you almost have to go for like very slow creep into the initial engagement from your Neon. So as the Razor Vine disappears, beautiful slide to come out right over here from the side of the Neon to be able to open it up from Zanatsu and Stella. Look at the double kill he gets on top of that. And now TSM are starting to feel the wrath and the reign of the aggression of the Brazilian players and what skill they can bring here to the table. And they have to find a way to react a little bit more. Once they slow down the Neon in their tracks, you have to find ways to punish her on top of that.
Push and pull between these 2 teams. TSM take their first round off of an ace. Stella take their first round off of a thrifty. This is far from over, and that momentum not go for free for TSM. Stella slipped past the wall, and really, you're locked in here with him. Someone does not care about anyone in this lobby. The disrespect is insane.
Who am I watching? Zanatsu, Spike, Dante Diaz? These Neons on the Ascension stage are incredible. My God, what a slide and display transfer onto 2 players right there to open up the B site. Oh man, he is looking scary. They had numbers for TSM to try to stop that. They had the Sage on top of it to try to support, and he doesn't care. Look at the transfer. Sorry, it was a Timotino as a raise to support. Even better, you have a rifle, a star player for TSM to try to go for a trade, then get 7 on top of that. That is just insane by Zanatsu.
Another duelist choice that Zanatsu's comfortable with, and he can just play any style. The stakes are as high as it gets. The overdrive available. And no initial slow orb, at least one that affected Stella. And especially on a save round, TSM gonna play as far back as they can. And at a perfect range for a Bucky. In case Stella wanna just be at the front, but no one's guarding trees. So Seven's just hoping to hide and get a lucky buckshot into Stella trying to plant.
I get launched in the air though, because you have the Rolling Thunder available for the side of Stella. An already aggressive push. Here is the entry denied.
Oh, even through the Rolling Thunder, Vora hangs on for dear life and snuffs the life out of Stella. Just the follow-up, the Rolling Thunder, TSM were able to adjust, expecting this, and man, a thrifty for TSM this time. This series is wild.
Yeah, this is such a fun matchup between these two teams. Number 1 seed from North America, number 1 seed from Brazil going toe-to-toe. And now finally, for the first time, I have to agree with what Roy's saying on the desk. This is finally going to be the type of Valorant we were expecting. There was going to be some good Valorant. And we're seeing it right now from shenanigans and chaos, but still some clean shots coming out from both of these teams. You even see there from that Bucky shot. You just talked about it, a tucked angle that Seven should have played with that Bucky. He created his own wall to actually get a kill with that Bucky. And now it comes down to what we thought was going to be a snowballing round of ults for TSM. But now it's quite even on both ends. Stella still has a lot of good ults to work with on their attack side right over here. So you tap that orb to try to bait out a trap play. It's not happening. And it allows for them to realize here that TSM might be playing a little bit more turtled up this time around, so they could start grouping up here and go for the fast XX that Zenatsu is able to get these entries for.
Another good ultimate to buy that space if you're Stella, now a Steel Garden. Maybe TSM want to even strike while the iron is hot before Stella even expected, but it'll just be against the lurk. But still pulling attention, Guy can maybe even give them a favorable option to rotate to, especially when you get a pick like that, and Seven was rotating elsewhere.
And yeah, that's Guy that, once again, it's the Guy versus Guimont. And won this time by the attack side, so the space even not held on the side of the controller player, so that's even less stall for the retake over on that C site. But they have power numbers on C stall.
Zenatsu isolated yet again. He doesn't care. He tests the waters, gets around his walls, makes his way deep into sight. And I think when you hear that neon come in, TSM have to be laser focused. Resurrect TSM back at their full force. Good delay from Vora and a Steel Garden from Stella to avoid all of those ultimates to go over to B and get a safer plant going. Droning in, Vora tries to get eyes, gets a ping onto one. The breach, Sora revealed. Now the slows is just going to be a no man's land, checking the corners. Stella below and sending TSM 6 feet under, but just not having the manpower to sustain through this fight. So it's just Zenatsu against the world, but sometimes he could put the world on his back, but it will be a defuse at the end of the day for TSM, and Zenatsu holds on to his rifle.
Still a very clean shot towards the end before he escapes and saves his weapon for Zenatsu. And now you're the playstyle also that the Des was mentioning is similar from both the star duelists. You're also seeing on one end that Timotino is trying to push forward on the defensive side on a Thrifty to try to get the backstab as a duelist. And this time you see the Zenatsu trying to go for a late lurk on a post plan to try to block everybody towards the back. And it almost worked out in their favor, but at the same time I feel like throwing out that Steel Garden on that attack, you're pushing everybody back into where the corridor of the flanks would be. And it seems as though the Sixth Sense coming out from Vora, expecting this push coming out from that Neon on that C side, is able to just watch that like a hawk, while the rest of the team are overtaking the B side on the retake. And it was no value that Zenatsu was able to take on that lurk.
Even the Sentinel util is not enough to really weaken Stella when Zenatsu can, you know, in another round, just go and get an ace, you know? So it's Zenatsu really taking over, and what a better map than to bring out the Neon when you're fully warmed up from the ton of rounds you've already played. So this is really going to be a tight race.
Yeah, and even the style of play that Zenatsu brings out on this Neon, because you see two types of Neons, where one, you're kind of like just jump spotting, trying to break angles, bait utility, and just try to go for the re-hit after. And when you're seeing a player like Zenatsu playing against a Sage and also a Vice that could literally stop you with their utility, but you're actually just swinging out before they even pull out the utility out of their hands because you're just trusting your aim on your slide tackle. It's just beautiful to watch. And it just opens up really all the opportunities for Stella to get into these sites. But despite all of that, they're still trailing this map by 3 rounds so far.
Still at arm's reach, but TSM with the usual setup of 7 and GMD. Gonna back each other up. Carefully watch the door, but that's been faked before. The Prowler goes in, Nightfall ready to try and draw TSM as close as possible. Paranoia out from TSM now, a window to engage from Stella, but also they've made a lot of noise. They have TSM pulled to this side of the map, so maybe it's about waiting to see what Guy can create over at B, but Nightfall executes. Guy is down, only one option left, and it's actually to still follow up into B. Nope, never want mine. Back into A. Stella confusing TSM. They've caught GMD in the midst of the chaos, and it'll still be a plan. The overdrive goes on 7, but the jump kind of messes up the Duelists. And 7. It's the battle stage you've been waiting to see, Vans. He's clutched for TSM before, back on Ascent, and he's ready to shed blood. And Stella finally put a stop to him, but it's just too late. Citazoid in a 1v3, can't protect the spike anymore.
Nicely done by 7-2 to drop in that area to avoid the fault line being thrown so they could actually get that pick. Turns out perfect for TSM. I was going to say read like a book earlier on by Vora. The way that they worked on that A site for Stella, and then he pushed towards B main to win that 1v1 on the lurk. You already hear it just off those comms, like, oh, they're going towards B main. So he even called the over rotate. And I love the pivot back from Stella to move into A, but just the positioning on the pulse plan right after as they're trying to get space to remain on site. They just overcommitted into some angles that are already being watched by TSM because they even rotated back on time. And it just allowed here TSM to get a clean defuse into that retake. And now an op on defense, watching that line. Nobody really is going to push him off that line yet because we're looking for a B-side pop potentially if the Prowler saw something. But it won't, and the wall's going to slow things down.
Stella have been respecting that, well, mostly. Zenatsu has played around with that wall to try and make Timotino uncomfortable, but it's the op that rings true, and Stella will have to go elsewhere. Thankfully, that wall, that door, I mean, remains closed and making a B entry. It's a good first pick from SW. It's definitely improved as the series has gone on, but now the smoke is there. You have TSM using util to just kind of close off these entries.
They already knew that Timotino was opping on that C site, so already trying to avoid that to avoid the op in the showstopper that Timotino just built. Alvin Boy, he missed the time. He has to re-peek out and almost got punished, but at least he survives and he could give the info for the team to just try to stall towards the A side and then get value off the showstopper on this retake.
And without Zenatsu, Stella definitely have to stay grouped up together while, well, Alvin Boy tries to create as much delay as possible, and even at half HP, he's still kicking. But Stella, friendship overwhelms them. Timotino, showstopper, almost flicks. That was crazy. Even the nade gets a kill too, but only one remains, and it's 7.
Yeah, I thought he got that kill off the flick, but that little icon was in fact the nades, but at least he gets a trade instantly. But that, you could see the different type of style of play that you're seeing even from the players on both sides. It almost looked like if you're watching this from home, you're like, why the hell are they just holding W and running into the site? You have to remember that they are playing into a super loud arena that's cheering for Stella. So all the cheers are masking all of that sound. So you kind of just have to play that game, always looking behind your back no matter what, because you won't hear a single footstep, a single drill moving forward. That was even called out by post-game interviews yesterday. And it's nice that 7 understands that because he's been here before, playing Ascension last year to get that turnaround pick.
Well, really starting to trail behind. When their second round win was a flawless, they thought they could really start to get gas in their tank. At least you disrespected the op, forced Timotino to reposition. Now you hope to chase him down, but Zenatsu's blinded and put down for good.
The first time here that he's not getting value off entering towards that site off the off angle of Alvin Boy. That was beautifully played.
Alvin Boy still trying to suppress them. Now SW teleporting in. Won't be punished this time, but Sheriff wasn't gonna be enough. Alvin Boy keeps hold, and Stella, they kind of pivot, do that pivot towards B. Whenever things get sketchy, they go into B, and TSM are beating them to the punch and beating them to death.
Oh my god, I'm just loving how Timotino is playing this game. Satchel to Boombot. Satchel again, wide swing shorty kill on top of that. And when I heard about the name of Timotino, again, another French-Canadian player that was growing into the scene and kind of being scouted out and playing a lot of like local teams at the first place. One of the only French-Canadian teams trying to grind it out from tier 2 or even tier 3 was Grid 05. And even maybe, I think it was Ducky, if I'm not mistaken. And then finally he gets scouted out in more ranked games, gets an opportunity to play against STE with STE Esports, and now picked up by TSM. And you're really seeing the growth that he's brought right now to his skill into this game. And it just shows it just proves why Timotino deserves a spot to be right here playing on the stage and potentially even scout it to move into tier 1, because that is not something that you see often from raised players when you're being ran down by players.
And the Deska pointed out that TSM have changed their IGL, and now you just have a bunch of vocal players, but enough that they're very synchronized on how they approach things. And yeah, when it gets really chaotic, that's when Stella were able to find some advantages. Stella have been also checking the flanks and watching the angles, so TSM have to really play perfect to try and find a crack in the armor. And we have so many good leaders on this team, it just makes it easy to have so many different ideas on what is the weakness of Stella.
Yeah. And shout out to Nuno in the chat for the correction. I meant core, not sad. Another one of those blue emblems that we have here in North American Valorant. So it does get confusing from time to time. But there is no confusion into how TSM is currently anchoring up on this defensive side. Roy was mentioning on the desk that they haven't had really strong defensive holds. They're under 50% really in their season in North America. And now 8-2 in terms of stalling on the C site. Retake plays are perfect, and the op shots for first kills on Timotino. The whole team's activated so far.
Stella are being extra careful because they still don't know where this op is, and Timotino has swapped sides of the map, expecting an A lobby fight, not gonna get it, but TSM stacked on the left side, now hit by a rolling thunder, and Zanatsu finds the perfect time to sink his teeth into GMD. Reinforcements on the way, but they just rotate into the sidelines of Stella. Oh, but 7 is worth his weight in gold and buys enough time for Timotino's op to get into position with open sightlines. Now with the wall off, they can at least get the resurrect going. TSM have a chance, equal numbers, time on Stella's side, 2 in the corner, 1 in main. Still a flash for Chisora, so they could still work with that. They're waiting for TSM to approach them. Stella back to their reactive style, but 7 and wreaking havoc. The op gets traded, but it will be recovered. 7 is a hero again.
A res on top of that, protecting his teammate and then wrapping around while the team is actually just creating diversion, so he just gets shots on the side, the backstab, and the defuse. And that's something that's prominent out of 7. Ups and downs going into the regular season here for TSM, but when it comes down to these crucial moments in these crucial games, man, does he step up to the occasion. In these moments where they're facing elimination in the North American playoffs for the last 2 years, they go on a lower bracket gauntlet and qualify to Ascension, and you're seeing that he's doing the same thing right now, just like he did last year in Ascension in the group stages, to keep TSM not only in the game, but in a very comfortable lead in the series.
Oh, Roy was stressing how often-sided this map was, but TSM, when they kick off on their defense, this is kind of very deja vu to Haven when they had that 9-3 half and built such a strong win streak, and they're on one yet again. See how this one will end. If Stella hope to have a similar half than Haven, I mean, that would be the best case scenario. A lot of good tools, including the Nightfall, and they're just gonna have to go in blindly. Zanatsu, where are these targets? Nowhere to be found. Suppresses into heaven. You get a safe plant going.
And that's twice I've used big ults to get into the sites, but the pulse plan again has not been fruitful for the side of Stella. Even look at that, shock darts takes him down. Now you're forcing the second ult already.
Whatever it takes. Last round of the half, and Alvin gets to be involved, be part of this equation to subtract Stella, but at Paranoia, Well, iced him in his tracks. Up next is the duelist, Timotino. What a way. And it's just one in his path. And it's even worse than Stella expected. A 10-2 half for TSM.
And that's the beauty as well of having the understanding of how the rounds are going. Alvin Boy, one away from me, all plays a little bit more passively so that he could actually get a kill potentially while he runs away, and that will allow him to get the steel garden to retake that site. There you go, picks it up, allows the flirt retake to happen, and TSM just displayed a perfect, beautiful defensive half.
Will this be all over for Stella? Well, TSM like to get loud. I know one player that likes to get loud too. Let's go check in with Pancada.
Precisa apresentações? Precisa mesmo falar quem que é? Vou perguntar pra ele porque ele não erra tiro e fico aqui com Pancada e, cara, eu preciso de uma mensagem de alento, cara. O que tá acontecendo, pelo amor de Deus?
Cara, acho que quem tem que passar a mensagem é o time que tá jogando, né? Trazer esse pistolzão pra nós pra gente poder acreditar no jogo ainda.
So I asked Pancada, like, can you give me a message of relief, please? And he said, well, whoever has to do that is the team that's playing. So let's hope they win the pistol round to bring the game back for us. E nessas situações, os caras estão, mano, levantando, botando o dedo na cara. Tem torcida dos caras aqui no Brasil, velho. O que você faz pra manter a calma? Os caras estão arrastando.
Cara, tem que trazer o jogo de volta pra você levantar e gritar pra eles, né? Igual a SW tava fazendo, gostei muito da energia, mas tem que trazer o jogo de volta, senão complica, você tem que aceitar, faz parte do esporte.
Aquele 1v4 que você gosta de fazer, né?
Né? Tomara que tragam, né? Traz um pra gente aí, vamos.
So let's say I ask, like, what do you do? And they're like pointing their fingers at you and they're in our face. And he said, well, you have to bring the game back first. And he, of course, liked very much the energy of SW because he was really bringing the team up. E pra gente finalizar, fechou o time lá, mano. O Melãozinho tava aí, trocou uma ideia com o Artezinho, falou, não, se pá, vamos ser vizinho, e aí?
Só mistério. Só mistério.
So I asked, like, is Loud closed? Is Loud, like, with the final roster? And said, oh, it's just a mystery. Valeu, Pancada, tamo junto, mano. De volta com vocês.
Respect on Elo trying to get leaks, but
Exactly.
Spoiler alert, it's a 10-2 half for TSM. Is this the end of Stella in this series? We're going to find out very soon. I think it all leans on this pistol dance.
Exactly what you and Pancada were mentioning during the interview as well. It has to start with the pistol round. If not, you're going to face similar music as when you did on Haven. It maybe wasn't a 10-2 half, it was a 9-3. You had some sort of room to breathe. But losing a pistol right now would just kind of force Stella to always go into a force buy every single round for the rest of the half, which is not good because you're also starting off on the defensive side, or now playing on the defensive side. Plants will not help you here. You cannot add the extra 300 credits. So that's even less util in the long run. So you have to have a clean start on the attack side, and it seems as though they want to start pushing into some B main control. And maybe with this B main control, it allows for them to really fight really quickly towards B holds and opening the door to just trap play onto C. And TSM so far from the map, it seems like they're walking into it.
Big way TSM are going to get information is off these Sova recons, and Stella wanted to try and strike before, or while Vora was trying to get into position. Nothing revealed, but TSM in these early rounds also like to build up towards these orbs. I don't know if it's going to be much of a long game when there's so much work done by TSM on that first half. The paranoia will free Chisora. Seem to be safe for now as TSM will head elsewhere.
It's back onto a split here, and looking like, at least for Timotino moving on this side, he's trying to create a fake, and it's working out. Two players actually rotate on that side, but we overcommitted into showing our hand towards C, so we're gonna have to stop. Thankfully, with the insert from Timotino, it allows them to scale a little bit more freely.
Timotino just checking Stella at the door. While the breakable door remains closed for now, that could be a moment for Guy to even up those numbers, but
dude,
red carpet is down. TSM take out everyone in their path, and Stella found a good advantage to strike TSM by surprise. It's just the flashes that create some delay. 12 seconds. Guy against Timotino before SW can make his mark, and TSM take the pistol, and this could be all over for Stella.
And now Timotino, Charlie just pointing back at every single one of these players on the other side of the stage. but he is hot in these pistol rounds. The Sheriff 5K and now a 3K for the team. Look at this, right into the Razor Vines. 25 HP. Zenatsu cannot commit onto the kill. A rare miss coming up from the side of the Duelist of Stella. But that allows here that pistol round to come into the side of TSM. And this is what we're mentioning before here. Stella maybe have to go for a force buy every single round, but they want to play into the overtime. So only investing into a few Sheriffs. Which also... yeah, I mean, this is too easy for Team Latino, but just to underline the fact that even Zenatsu getting this Sheriff right now, it's going to be harder for you to even get into an op on the defensive side, but maybe that's not their style of play anyways with the Neon Breach.
Oh, it's the practice range for Alvin Boy.
Didn't even see him. Practice range shooting a box and getting headshots.
So insane. TSM, you've made him angry and they're silencing Stella. It's just Hitazoid having to come all the way over from opposite sides of the map. TSM will be on match point, series point. All these weapons possibly being brought over, so... Crowd got real quiet after that one.
Indeed. And now it just, at least the silver lining I like to think into that round is that the last player remaining for the side of Stella just running into the A main at least props the wall up for Alvin Boy, so it gives you the idea of where you're trying to set up your defaulting for the side of TSM. So that's what I'm going to have to think about here for Hitazoid and for the rest of Stella. And they'll know now that wall is being placed at the same spot. They could start trying to move forward here as well. And then for TSM, I mean, they're just trying to clear towards an A site quite easily here. They already have full control of front B as well. And now they have free reign to see what type of picks to get on B or C to finish at one of those spots.
Stella just trying to supplement C, reinforce it. That's where a lot of these hits have been happening. Unless Alvin Boy inspires them to go elsewhere, he'll start clearing through B. And Stella are going to push the map control on the perimeters while TSM are rotating. Just Stella trying to minimize these risks as best as they can. And it was, this whole map kicked off with a Zenatsu ace, and look how it's ending. I mean, 12-2.
And another one of those rounds where instantly into a bonus round for the side of the attack, you have a showstopper. So controlling the orb on C, showstopper available for Team Latino, and you're very weak on A site in terms of positioning. You have to escape this time around, and thankfully you're able to do so with the dash.
A deadly game of dodgeball.
Oh, that was a ruse.
Stella anchored. The pivot into B. There's even a vice wall from Alvin Boy. So, or from the defense actually. So now TSM just kind of bunker down. Team Latino goes exploring. He goes hunting. And finally will be laid to rest. And so do the rest of Stella. A dominant end to this map and this series, 13-2.
What an answer back by TSM in this series. The third map in dominant fashion, just like their first. Maybe in some way, shape, or form, it should have been a 2-0, but at least I love that Stella had some sort of storied success on that second map. Some room to breathe and something to look forward to when they're going to play into that second round of that Switch stage. But overall for TSM, this is the start that you wanted. Remember group stage of last time, they bombed out so many games going to overtime. One of them, if I remember correctly, was even having Sato on Abyss for Galores back then. And it just couldn't finish the map against their opponents. But this time, they finish a series against the Brazilian powerhouse and are able to move forward into the next round of the Swiss stage.
To do it when the crowd is against them, but at least one person that was on their side.
Yep, like 3 people.
Now you're guys, that TSM on his forehead is going to be permanent if they keep on winning. But it's also awesome to see everyone on the stage get really hyped and to get to also play in these serious matches with your teammates by your side, with your coaches there too. And this is just the beginning of TSM's run in Ascension. And after how the last one went, the fans should be happy.
Yeah, for sure. For North American fans to see how Envy started yesterday and that they were able to close things out quite easily and on 2-0 and to come back on top of that for that second map and to see that TSM is doing well at the same time for North America, it's looking potentially like another one of those Ascensions where you might have two North American teams going into the grand finals. But this is such a short sample size. There's still some storied successes that you can talk about. Shinden, for example, and onto this team as well that we just witnessed onto Stella, that they have some very strong firepower on their side and just ironing out a little bit of those kinks and understand the different play styles of the different regions. It might give them a chance to bounce back.
For the #1 seed of NA to beat the champions of Stage 2, Brazil in Stella. What a way to kick off the day. We have more matches around the corner. We also have a desk to speak to, so let's see how they feel.
Thank you, guys. What an incredible map of Lotus we just saw on the side of TSM. We didn't really know what to expect going into it. We talked about a little bit about the Sage, a little bit about the Duelist, Ashe, but I don't think we were expecting such a one-sided score. Everything was going right for TSM.
It really was. Like, it is insane to think that this map ended up in a 13-2 when Ascent had just gone to an overtime just beforehand, but it was a really strong showing out from TSM. I think that Roy hit the nail on the head earlier when we were talking about during agent select, the strengths of this composition. Seven's utility, ability to slow things down there for Stella. But I do think, though, that for the side of Stella, there were some great rounds. A couple rounds that we saw, like those B splits, worked really well for them. I just think that they're call to like re-clear towards a rubble after that initial conditioning was done didn't come soon enough in that first half. Instead, it allowed TSM to be very comfortable in how they were changing up the way they wanted to play the macro there on defense, swapping their sentinels around, just shifting how they were looking to play a little bit more bunkered on site because they understood that they had posed enough of a threat already within the first 6 rounds.
And I think partially like TSM might have traumatized them in the first map, because on Haven, if you think back to it, it was very similar to this Lotus, right? Where they were front loading their defensive side with a lot of that that early A control. And it almost felt like Stella did not really want to take those team fights. Like they didn't really want to risk it on that A control. So they were giving it up, and that slows down the attack side so much. And that's, I mean, that's like the main win condition for TSM's composition. So I feel like TSM had the right read. They had the right